Hello and welcome back to Radio 2. So today we'll be continuing where we left off in the previous lesson, in which we are talking about compiling music, so the module surrounding compiling music. And the previous lesson we spoke about features and more specifically specialist music shows, and that you get two types. Okay, generally there are two types of these specialist music shows. They are called block programming or show programming. So block programming occurs over the weekends, which focus specifically on specialty music programming. It's being put there specifically to draw in your P2 or your P3 listener, okay? So not your main core listenership audience, the people that'll normally have a different favorite radio station. So you're trying to pull them in with these specific features to listen to your show rather, okay? And these types of shows normally deviate from the day-to-day programming of the radio station, the day-to-day music that has been scheduled on the radio station, and the presenters of these shows are specialists in whatever it might be, whether it's jazz or soul or hip-hop or a top 40 show specifically, whatever it might be. These shows are put in place for a specific reason, okay? So show programming are compiled by specialists in different genres, such as, let's say, 60s or 70s music, or again, from Africa and the diaspora. These shows ensure that their presenters are recognized experts in the field. Specialty programming requires constant monitoring and tweaking because music radio stations can at any moment turn around and change their format and become direct competition to these shows. So these shows need to be adaptable at all times, and they need to be monitored. They need to be monitored at all times, and it's important to see the kind of listeners that tune in for these specific shows. So an example would be something like the Kaya FM 95.9 Elite Nights, or Metro FM's Sounds and stuff like that. 702 has quite a few over the weekends, specifically because they move away from talk radio a bit more, get relaxed a little bit more over the weekends. Okay, so they have a few specialist music slots over the weekends. So that's in terms of programming of music that's already on the station, shows that are already on the station because you're trying to hook someone. But now what we're going to look at today is, how do I get that far? If I'm a musician, I'm a recording artist, I want to get my song on the radio. How does it work? Who are all the stakeholders involved? How do I get my song as far as playlisted? So if you want to follow along today, we're going to be on page 180 and 181 in your Next Level textbook. Submitting music on a radio station is one of the ways that a radio station obtains the music that is played. Music can usually be submitted by anyone, but the way in which it's submitted is carefully outlined by all the radio stations for the purpose of streamlining and managing the music obtained from both big record labels and individuals. Each radio station has their own submission guidelines that stipulate what information you need to provide to the station, along with a submission of your music. They require information such as who rightfully owns the song, who's featured on the song, what is the genre that your song is falling into, and which music labels are involved, if there are any involved, in the publishing and or the distribution of the song. They also have format requirements, such as the minimum quality standards and the length of the songs that they are allowed to or that they can accept. Together with all the details required about the song, information on how and when it was produced, and what collaborations there might have been, scrap die. Together with all of the details required about the song, information on how and when it was produced, and what collaborations there might have been must also be included. This type of information is required in order for the radio stations to position the song within the context of the station and to determine what content needs to be created or has the potential to really interest the listener base. So this is what 5FM's requirements are. So when you want to submit a song to 5FM, you need to submit your track digitally. So we no longer accept hard copies of the song. Okay, it needs to be sent digitally through to playlist@5fm.co.za. And you need to attach a 5 meg MP3. Okay, so they're very specific with regards to file sizes. Include a download link for a WAV version. WAV versions are way bigger because of the format, so download link. All the songs need to be radio edited, so no swear words, and preferably under 4 minutes. They want you to include a short biography of yourself, and the mail overall shouldn't exceed 6 megabytes. Okay, a lot of mailboxes have a specific size that it's allowed to be for that specific mailbox. Okay, so you need to adhere to these requirements. The song needs to be registered with SAMRO, and artwork is essential to accompany your submission with their requirements there for a JPEG. And then they tell you that due to the high volume of music submissions and their 5FM selection process, they can't contact all of the artists with feedback, and that if you haven't heard back from them after 6 weeks, please consider your submission unsuccessful. So this is one SABC station. If we have a look at another one, this is Metro FM's. This is Metro FM's submission criteria. So the music department no longer accepts physical music submissions sent So you need to send your music to music@metrofm.co.za. All submissions are registered and details of the person submitting are recorded. All tracks are listened to within the playlist meeting. The tracks are defined with regards to accepted, shelved, or held over. Okay, and the playlist criteria, the song fits within the station's format. Obviously, that's really important. Set in the music policy guidelines. The level of production is equivalent to that of international standard. So should the track be local? The track is a radio edit. So that means your song duration. There are no explicit lyrics. The track have an excessive amount of strong language. You need to look at the language that you've used. The tracks are of a duration of no more than 4 minutes in order to make it radio friendly, and no instrumental tracks will be accepted due to the station's set mandate. So that's Metro FM's submission criteria. I'm going to show you one more, but a youth-centered one. Okay, so let's just have a look at VOW FM's submission structure. So VOW FM asks that you submit your songs online. And they have a team of, they have a music compiler team that will have a listen to it. So you need to give your name, your surname, your email address, your contact number, the artist's name, song title, composer, your SAMRO number once again, publisher, ISRC code, record label, genre, and then your WeTransfer or Dropbox links. Okay, so the link of the song and then you submit it. So quite straightforward, quite easy, and they're more likely to accept your song than the commercial guys. So it's a good platform to start on, to send it to all the youth radio stations, because they will all have a similar format to this. Okay, so all of them All of the youth stations will require the same thing, and that's all of these details: name, surname, email, contact number, artist details, composers, SAMRO number important, publisher ISRC code, record label if you have one. So what is the SAMRO number? So you might not know who SAMRO is. It's important that we have a look at them. So SAMRO is the South African Music Rights Organization. Their primary role is to administer performing rights on behalf of their members. They do so by licensing music users, okay, so such as TV and radio broadcasters, live music venues, retailers, restaurants, promoters, shopping centers, even universities have SAMRO licenses through the collection of licensing fees, which are then distributed as royalties. So who all should be registered with SAMRO? If you compose music of any kind, you write lyrics, you perform vocals, you play instruments in studio, and you help record music, that makes you a music creator. As a composer, there are a number of rights that vest within your compositions. So as a composer, you have certain rights, and SAMRO administers what is known as these performing rights, and they control what happens when your music is performed in public. Mechanical rights is another form of music rights that come into play when your music is reproduced. In South Africa, mechanical rights is administered by the Composers, Authors and Publishers Association, CAPASSO. So from 2014 onwards, composers need to join CAPASSO as a member in order to have the mechanical rights benefits. So if you yourself are a music creator, make sure that you are not just registered on SAMRO, but also on the South African mechanical rights, but also on the South African Composers, Authors and Publishers Association. SAMRO also administers the music copyright related to performing rights and collects licensing fees, which are then distributed as royalties on your behalf. So radio stations need to pay SAMRO fees on a yearly basis. So SAMRO looks at all the music that you've played, and then they send you an invoice, which you pay, and that money is supposed to be going to you as a music creator for royalties. So if someone wants to use your words, if you are a lyricist or an author, whether it is to perform in public or to play or to broadcast it, they need a usage license. And then you get publishers. And to be a SAMRO member, a publisher must have a catalog of music works that would have been commercially published or recorded. And the authors of the music works must be members of SAMRO or of one of SAMRO's international partners. With regards to the different membership types that you get within SAMRO, the SAMRO board checks out the submissions of every single music creator. So even if you and all of your classmates were to apply to SAMRO, the board would have to go through every single application. They verify that your music is active, and they ensure that the license fees are collected from those licensed platforms will get to you. If you're a music publisher, they check to see that the people that you represent are also members of SAMRO or of one of their international affiliated societies. SAMRO has two types of memberships. You can either be an associate member or you can be a full member. If you are either an author or a publisher, then you simply need to be an associate member. You don't have to have full membership rights. And what does that mean? What does it entail? You must have completed, so there's an application form that you need to fill in, the SAMRO deed of assignment, and you also have to formally notify all, and you also need to have notified SAMRO of all the music works in which you've played a part on the official SAMRO notification of works form. Your works should have achieved significant performances so that you are able to accrue royalties to warrant performing rights administration by SAMRO. And you must have earned at least 100 Rand in royalties within the first 3 years. To be a publisher on SAMRO, you must have been registered with the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, so the CIPC, where anyone who has a company should be registered. The publisher must have applied for SAMRO membership by completing the prescribed application form, and again the SAMRO deed of assignment. Copies of the deeds of assignments between the publisher and the authors or composers must be supplied to SAMRO. In the case of representation of foreign works, copies of the sub-publication agreements must accompany the application documentation. And to be an associate member, you must have earned at least 1,000 Rand in royalties within the 3 preceding years. To be a full member on SAMRO, there's a point system that they use to look at, and the requirements here are a minimum of 5 active years of membership shall qualify a member for 10 points. Okay, if you've been part of SAMRO for 5 years, you get 10 points. If you've been part of it for 10 years, you get 15 points. 15 years, you get 20 points. 20 years, you get 30 points. The same for a publisher. And for an author, you need to have a minimum of 60 musical works documented with SAMRO, then you get 10 points. 90, then you get 15 points. 140, you get 20 points. 190, you get 30 points. You can find all of the necessary information on SAMRO's website, samro.org.za. Just for interest's sake, the other types of companies or people who need a SAMRO license for music distribution are vendors. So as I've mentioned, all radio stations, all TV stations, all mobile and internet transmission providers. Anyone who uses music in any form within a public space. This also counts for restaurants and bars, so any venue where you will be playing music to the public. So you are seen as the music user, okay? So music user, pubs, restaurants, TV, radio, hospitals, promoters, promotions, etc. Okay, this is very important because this is something that not everyone knows. Music users who play music in the course of doing business need to pay a license fee. This forms part of the Copyright Act and is part of the South African law. So if the music that you play isn't written, created, performed, published, and recorded by you, then it belongs to the music creator and you need a license. We've mentioned some businesses that need a license. Others are things like live music venues. If you have a festival, you get a license for those couple of days that the festival is on. Retail stores, if you walk into a store and music is playing, they need a license. Hairdressers, shebeens, cinemas, car washes, trains, non-profit organizations, schools, churches, community-based organizations, taxis, and DJs. If you are a DJ and you are playing in a club, at a wedding, wherever it might be, you should be paying licensing fees to SAMRO. So as a radio station, you will be paying broadcasting licenses. You will be paying a broadcast license fee, okay? Same as a television. Those license fees are calculated on an individual basis according to the size and the nature of the broadcaster. A commercial radio station would pay more than, say, Boston Media House Radio would, for instance. Then you also get general licenses, and that's the type of license that any other music user would use. So clubs, bars, malls, restaurants, music venues, and any other establishment. SAMRO is the one type of license. Then you get another type of license, which is called the SAMPRA license. So SAMRO is the copyright administration business, dealing primarily with the administration of music composers and authors' performing rights. On the other hand, there's SAMPRA, and they are the collective licensing society of copyright owners of music sound recordings. It's mandated to collect and distribute royalties to the members of the recording industry of South Africa, so RISA, whenever their recordings are broadcast, diffused, or communicated to the public. So who needs a SAMPRA license? Music users. If you are broadcasting or playing sound recordings in public, a SAMPRA license is required. So SAMPRA issues licenses to radio broadcasters who use sound recordings, so CDs, USBs, downloads, etc., in SAMPRA's repertoire in their transmission. A SAMPRA license enables music users to play literally millions of sound recordings on their business premises. So let's say you are a DJ, okay? You are a mobile DJ. So you go DJ at different events, different clubs, you DJ in different spaces. Do you need a SAMPRA license? Yes, you do. So firstly, the venue obviously needs to be licensed. There's a fee of 2,430 Rand and 26 cents per DJ per year that you need to pay. And you pay, in essence, to be able to play the connection of copyright sound recordings that you have. So that's all the information that you need with regards to those licensing. Now, if we look at the record labels, there are 4 major record labels, okay, 4 very well-known ones, and they are EMI, Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group, and Warner Music. Then we have David Gresham Records, and then we have a couple of others. We have Super Black Tapes. They are known for their deep house. Gallo Records, known for their pop and traditional music. Then we have Kalawaz Jasmine Records, and they are an independent. They are a South African independent record label. And they're reputable as a major contributor to the development of Kwaito genre music in South Africa. And they've been going for the last 25 years. Then we even have a Gqom record company. So South Africa has quite a broad variety of record labels. So it doesn't matter what type of music you make, you should be able to fall under one of these. Or you should be able to apply to one of these. So record labels usually distribute their music to radio stations on a weekly basis. The bigger guys all have a website where you simply log in and you can download all the music directly from there. The smaller ones might send you the music once a week. And while record companies represent a huge part of the music industry, the other huge part consists of radio stations. And record labels need to work along with radio stations in order to succeed and in order for their artists to succeed. So a record label needs to get radio stations to play the music of the artists that they represent. And radio stations need a consistent flow of new material for their listeners. when record labels are about to release an album, they have their promotions department, their promotions team, send the singles or the songs to the radio stations to try and get airplay for their artists. So it's quite an important job. So what happens now then when this music has been... So if we go back to the previous slide, we said that the music department manages the intake of all the music at music radio stations with precision and care. Every single song that comes in gets labeled, okay, gets made record of. So they keep very careful record of what they receive, from who they receive it, when they received it. This information is really important to make sure that a station is sticking to their specific format as licensed through ICASA, the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, and to prevent preferential treatment when it comes to what music is picked for a playlist. So once this music has been received, there's a team that listens. Once this music has been received, there's a team that listens to the music and decide whether it fits with the station format. And if it, once then it has been accepted, listened to and logged by the music manager or the music compiler, the songs are optioned for playlisting. And then it goes back to what we spoke about in the previous lessons with regards to the different rotations. So is it going into a new rotation? Is it going into a hot rotation? Is it going into a recurrent rotation? Is it going into a top 40 rotation? Where is the song going? Okay. So how would a radio station know if you submit a song for the usual playlist or for a speciality show? How do you think they'd know what you are applying for? Would they know? Would they even know? How would you mark your song to have them see that it's for one or the other? This is something I want you to think about, okay? It's not an answer I'm going to give you right now. I want you to think about, if you were to submit your music today, how would a radio station know if a song submitted is for the usual playlist or for the speciality show? And then by now, what you should be able to tell me is, you should be able to tell me what is the difference between adult contemporary radio, okay, so AC radio, and between contemporary hit radio, CHR. So what is the difference between AC and CHR radio? And you should be able to give me an example of both for South African radio. So pure straightforward AC and pure straightforward CHR. I'll give you a hint. There's only one full-on CHR radio station in South Africa. Only one contemporary hit radio station within South Africa. There are a lot of AC radio stations with different formats, okay? Keeping a lot of things into consideration, that the one is based at a market aged 25 and up. The one is based at a market aged between 18 to 25. And then you should also understand the guidelines to submitting music, to what it takes, to what a radio station would look at with regards to its formatting, and to how the playlisting structure works. Okay, and you should also be able to discuss the 8 playlisting criteria as set out by Geiger. Okay, and that brings me to the end of this lesson. So what did we speak about in this lesson? We went through music submissions. So how would you submit the music? Who are involved with the music, aka the program manager, the music compiler, the music compiler's team. And we spoke about the different types of record labels. We spoke about SAMRO and we spoke about SAMPRA.